Welcome to Naked Pixels. Short clips with advice from the Naked Texture Artist podcast, where my guests answer questions all artists struggle with. Enjoy.
I was in a rut with my work and I just needed help. I've took a mentorship with someone else a few times.
Okay. Was it worth, you feel it was value for money?
Yeah, it was just really good being able to talk with someone that had a lot more experience with what I was in need of. It was almost like therapy in a way. I think that last mentorship, it was me wanting to just getting very cautious that I'm going in a loop of just creating substance materials, and I realized that I needed to just get out of that and just start creating more larger environments and pieces of work.
Have you ever been in a rut? Lost your way? Continuing a loop that no longer has any or the same purpose? Where does it come from? I think it comes from the focus we have and that we need as artists. We need that to do our work, but it also leaves us a bit myopic. When you combine that with the rhythm of the work we do, which is quite repetitive, tight deadlines means constant work where you barely have 5 seconds of downtime for reflection as you quickly change from asset to asset or shot to shot. And when one show finishes, a studio scales down staff, and then you may be thrown into full-scale job search to find your next gig. Again, no time for reflection there. It all amounts to a life cycle where we have little opportunity to just have a moment to take a breath, clear your mind, and simply ask yourself, where am I? Where would I like to go? What do I need then to do that? So we can be stuck continually carrying out a plan, so to speak, that no longer serves any purpose. It was maybe what you needed to get to where you are now, but it might not be what you need to get to the next level or the next step of your journey as an artist. Or worse still, we might be exhausted from that whole constant grind, so that we simply lose our way as artists. We've lost that spark, that love, that was the reason we did this in the first place. It's been beaten out of us, or worn out of us, and we just robotically repeat the steps we've done so many times before, because we simply don't know any better. How do you break free from this? How do you get out of it? I think we start by acknowledging that what got you here had value. You did this for a reason. You did this because it was working for you. Dwight Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of the Allied forces during World War II and later President of the United States, had this thing he said about commanding armies and winning wars. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything. I used to take exception to this quote because I love to draw up a plan, polishing and perfecting it. How dare you call my beautiful plan worthless? But now I get it. The German Field Marshal Helmut Marque said that no plans survive contact with the enemy. And that is true. No matter how perfect a plan is, very quickly it will become obsolete as you carry it out in the real world. Which is why you must keep planning. Keep adjusting your plans. Keep plotting a new adjusted course to where you want to go as you push forward. Because the ground under your feet will keep changing and shifting as you travel. That's what Eisenhower's quote means. And as artists, we may have this activity that we really need to practice as beginners that makes sense for that moment in time. But to keep on in that loop stops our growth from reaching the next stage. What got you here is not what will get you to the next level. We have to remember that. Sometimes we do need to be told that because we can develop a fondness for whatever our pet activity is. Why not? We might get good at it over time. That always feels nice, even if it has stopped challenging us any longer. And it is often something we can tell ourselves that we're being productive when we do this. And the more familiar we become with it, the lower stress it will be to do this activity. So imagine an exercise in the gym that was challenging to you once upon a time, and now you can enjoy the stress-free gym life of easy exercising, which you tell yourself is helping you get fitter. Except it is, of course, just deluding yourself. So what to do? I don't have all the answers, but the way I see it, in order to discover that next step, you do need something that we maybe don't have access to. Breathing room and friendly senior artists. I've often said on this channel that on a psychological level, creativity comes from our emotional core. And when we are caught in that rut of next task, next task, next task, I think that part of us gets numb, or it falls asleep, or it atrophies. In any case, it stops working. To bring it back online again, you need to stop and feel, which takes time. Time unobstructed by other requirements. Feel what still works for you and what has lost its usefulness. Feel where you want to go, if other constraints were no hindrance. Feel what art you still yearn to make. To be honest, it's hard to do, and it takes time and space to get anywhere. For that reason, I always have a journal with me at all times, particularly when I'm on vacation or if I'm traveling somewhere. Long journeys are great because you're locked into a state of inactivity, and you have to leave time and space for your heart to dare to peep up over the parapet. Particularly if you've brutalized it for a long time. Then, in the beginning, when it speaks, it's barely audible. So I don't expect to be hit by a lightning bolt, which is why I carry a journal to jot down any and all little thoughts that may come to me. Over time, they often crystallize into a bigger, more coherent whole. The second thing that is really valuable is trusted other people. We do so much of our work in our heads. We live such a large part of our lives in our heads. For something it is a strength, for other things it is also very limiting. So to get out of our heads and away from that myopic focus, where all we can see is the task in front of us, and not the whole picture and of how our lives fit into that, we need to talk to other people. We basically achieve triangulation, which helps us find our way and pinpoint our location on that great big map containing our lives and our artistic journey. Then we can clearly see how far or how close we are to where we'd like to be. Mentors are great for that. A friendly senior artist at work would work too. Or a friend from school who works in the same field as you can do the trick too. Put that sincere question of, I feel stuck, where do I go next, to them, and see where the conversation goes. Being an artist is in nature a solitary endeavor. Being a commercial artist is often a rushed and non-stop life. But we need to step outside of those two to see the light and move past the obstacles that come our way. I'm sort of thinking about this, that when I was at university, when we were at school together, I sort of imagined that the professional world would be this fantastic place where everybody was so excited about what they were doing, and all you're going to be talking was like a big slumber party where you just stay up late talking about Texas all night or whatever it may be, you know? Everybody's so excited to just talk about this, and by and large, I haven't really found that. These things that you're talking about here, I feel like this is something you should just be able to get or do in your workplace. Just, hey, the next desk over, the next guy over, hey, what do you think of this? Or there's like a conversation like that just flows around the room on a constant basis. But It's not really like that.
I actually do have that at work. We have weekly, what they call one-to-ones, where you just get in a room with someone and you just talk for like half hour, and it's more to do with your personal growth and career stuff, and you can bring
Wow.
those kind of subjects up.
Really?
Yeah, and
That's...
that's really been great.
So who would you talk to? Would it always be a supervisor, or would it be an equal or an underling or whatever?
It's always your manager.
Okay.
In
Wow.
my case, art director.
I've never ever come across anything like that in the visual effects world. I feel like that's a mature process to have in the workplace. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
it's really great. I'll have it everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like that should just be standard wherever you go. Huh. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. We have a tiny bit of housekeeping to do on the way out. If this episode has been helpful to you, why not share the podcast with your colleagues and friends? If you'd like to support the podcast, I'd appreciate if you bought me a coffee. You can do that on Ko-fi. That is spelled ko-fi.com/The Naked Texture Artist. One word. If you have suggestions, comments, or questions, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to drop me a line on thenakedtextureartist@gmail.com. That is The Naked Texture Artist written out in all one word @gmail.com. As I mentioned, having a busy day job in visual effects means my release schedule for this podcast can be a bit irregular. So if you don't want to miss out, subscribe to The Naked Texture Artist wherever you get your podcasts. Or follow the podcast on the socials, then you'll be alerted when the next episode drops. The music in this episode was Awake by Tycho. Nick Sifoni helped put the sound together, and everything else was done by me, your host, Marque Pierre Sondergaard. Speak to you soon.